Commander John Bennett stood at the window of the International Space Defense Coalition headquarters, his eyes fixed on the large screen showing the feed from the Deep Space Telescope. The objects had appeared 3 days ago, 7 massive vessels, moving in perfect formation toward Earth. They had crossed the orbit of Neptune in hours, not years. There was no doubt anymore. Humans were not alone in the universe. "Commander, the President is on line 1, said Lieutenant Diane Foster, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. John nodded and picked up the secure phone. "Mr. President, the objects will reach Earth orbit in approximately 12 hours. We still have no response to our communications." The room fell silent as John listened to the President's orders. After hanging up, he turned to the 20 men and women who made up Earth's first line of defense. "The Security Council has voted. We're going to diplomatic status Alpha. All weapons are to remain powered down. We're greeting them as peaceful explorers," John announced, his face not betraying his personal disagreement with the decision. Dr. Lisa Miller, the lead xenobiologist who had been called in when the objects were first detected, looked up from her computer. "Commander, I've been analyzing their approach pattern. It's military. These aren't explorers." John walked over to her station. "Show me." Lisa pointed to the screen where she had mapped the aliens' course. "Look at the formation. It's designed to allow maximum coverage with minimum vulnerability. And their speed adjustments when passing Jupiter's moons. They were scanning our system for threats." John frowned. The doctor was right, but there was nothing he could do with the Security Council's decision already made. "Keep analyzing. I want to know everything you can tell me about them before they arrive." 12 hours later, the world watched as the alien ships entered Earth orbit. The lead vessel, nearly 2 miles long, positioned itself above the United Nations headquarters in New York. The others spread out over major cities around the globe. John stood beside the President in the emergency bunker beneath the White House. As the first transmission came through, the main screen filled with the image of a tall, slender being with iridescent blue skin and 4 arms. Its face had no nose, just 2 large black eyes and a small mouth. "People of Earth," the alien spoke. In perfect English, its voice oddly musical. "I am High Emissary Zorak of the Zarathi Dominion. We come in peace and friendship to welcome you to the galactic community." The President stepped forward. "On behalf of the people of Earth, we welcome you. We hope this is the beginning of a long and beneficial relationship between our worlds." High Emissary Zorak's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "Indeed. We have much to offer a developing species such as yourselves." John noticed the slight emphasis on developing and exchanged glances with Lisa, who stood off to the side taking notes. Over the next week, the world fell in love with the Zarathi. They offered medical technology that could cure cancer, engines that could revolutionize space travel, and energy systems that would end dependence on fossil fuels. World leaders eagerly signed preliminary agreements for technology exchanges. John sat in his office reviewing the terms of these agreements when Lisa burst in without knocking. "They're lying to us," she said, dropping a tablet on his desk. "Look at this." John picked up the tablet, which showed an analysis of Zarathi communication patterns. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" "I've been monitoring their ship-to-ship communications. They're using a frequency they think we can't detect, but I modified one of our deep space receivers." Lisa pointed to the translation algorithm she had developed. "They're not here to help us. They're here to take everything." John read through the translations, his face darkening. According to Lisa's data, the Zarathi were planning to strip Earth of its resources and use humans as a labor force. They considered Earth's military capabilities laughable, and its leaders easily manipulated. "Have you shown this to anyone else?" John asked. Lisa shook her head. "Who would believe me? Everyone's too busy planning the bright future the Zarathi promised." John stood up and locked his office door. "We need more proof before we take this." To the President. For the next month, John and Lisa worked secretly to gather evidence of the Zarathi's true intentions. They recruited a small team of trusted analysts and engineers, including communications specialist Ryan Cooper and planetary defense expert Grace Wilson. Their breakthrough came when they intercepted a detailed Zarathi timetable for what they called resource extraction, scheduled to begin in 6 months. The plan included neutralizing Earth's military capabilities and establishing processing centers where humans would be sorted for labor assignments. John brought the evidence to General Frank Harris, his direct superior. "This is concerning, Bennett, but it's not conclusive," General Harris said after reviewing the data. "These translations could be flawed, and even if they're accurate, these could be contingency plans, not active intentions." "Sir, with all due respect, we can't afford to wait and find out," John argued. "The Zarathi are already positioning key personnel in our defense networks, claiming it's for technical assistance. They'll have access to all our systems before we know it." General Harris sighed. "What would you have me do? Start a war with an alien race that has technology centuries beyond ours based on some intercepted communications? The president would never authorize it." John straightened his back. "Then authorize Project Phoenix." General Harris's eyes widened. "The lunar warship? It's theoretical at best. We don't have the technology to build it." "We didn't," John corrected. "But I've had Dr. Miller and her team analyzing the Zarathi technical data they've shared publicly. We believe we can adapt some of their technologies to complete the Phoenix design." After hours of debate, General Harris reluctantly gave his approval for preliminary work on Project Phoenix, under the cover of a lunar mining operation. 2 months later, construction began in a crater on the far side of the moon. The Zarathi, confident in their assessment of human technological capabilities, paid little attention to what they believed was a primitive mining facility. Lisa worked tirelessly with the engineering team, incorporating modified Zarathi technology into the ship's design. "They gave us the keys to their own destruction," she told John during one of his inspection visits. "They think we're too simple to understand their technology, but they underestimate human ingenuity." As the ship took shape in the lunar crater, the Zarathi began showing their true colors on Earth. Their advisors started making demands rather than suggestions. Resources were being redirected to Zarathi ships without proper compensation. And people who spoke out against the aliens began disappearing. John received word that the president was planning to announce an expanded partnership with the Zarathi, one that would give them access to Earth's defense grid for upgrades. Time was running out. Project Phoenix was only 60% complete. "We need more time," John told his team during an emergency meeting in the lunar facility. Lisa looked up from her calculations. "We don't have more time. According to my latest intercept, the Zarathi plan to begin their takeover next week, not 6 months from now. They've seen enough of our resistance movements to know we might become a problem if they wait." John stared at the partially completed warship in the construction bay below. It wasn't ready. It might never be ready in time. But it was Earth's only hope. John paced the command center of the lunar base, checking the latest reports from Earth. The Zarathi had moved faster than anyone expected. 3 days ago, they had disabled most of Earth's satellite network, claiming it was for an upgrade. Now major cities around the world were under what the aliens called protective supervision. "Commander, we have a problem," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, the base's best pilot. "Zarathi ships are approaching lunar orbit. They're asking about our mining operation." John looked at the radar display. 5 Zarathi vessels were heading their way. "How long until they're in visual range?" 20 minutes, sir," Amy replied. John turned to Dr. Lisa Miller, who was working on the final calculations for the ship's defense systems. "Is Phoenix ready for launch?" Lisa shook her head. "The engines are operational, but weapon systems are at 40%. Life support is stable, but not tested for more than a dozen people." "It will have to do," John decided. "Begin evacuation procedures. Essential personnel only. Everyone else heads to the emergency shelters." The base erupted into controlled chaos. As the crew prepared for emergency launch, engineers rushed to secure loose equipment while medical staff gathered vital supplies. In the hangar bay, the massive shape of Project Phoenix waited, an unfinished vessel that represented Earth's last hope. Steve Carter, the weapons specialist, approached John with a tablet showing the latest scans. Sir, the Zarathi ships are scanning the lunar surface. They've detected our power signature. How many people can Phoenix hold in its current state? John asked Lisa. 50 at most, with minimal comfort, she replied. We have 73 personnel on base. John made the hardest decision of his career. All non-essential personnel will take the emergency shuttles back to Earth. They'll blend in with the refugee movements. The rest of us take Phoenix. The next 15 minutes passed in a blur of activity. 28 crew members boarded the emergency shuttles bound for Earth. The remaining 45, engineers, pilots, and key scientific personnel, moved to their stations aboard Phoenix. Zarathi ships will be in weapon range in 5 minutes, Steve warned as he took his place at the tactical station. John sat in the command chair on Phoenix's bridge. The interior was unfinished, with exposed wiring and temporary control panels. Dr. Miller, are the engines ready? Lisa nodded from her science station. Yes, but we only have one shot at this. The power cells aren't fully charged. Lieutenant, Rodriguez, plot an escape course through the L2 point. We'll use the moon as cover until the last possible moment. Amy's fingers flew over the navigation controls. Course plotted, sir. Zarathi ships are hailing us, said Ryan Cooper from communications. They're ordering us to power down and prepare for inspection. John took a deep breath. Everyone strap in. This won't be smooth. He pressed the ship-wide communication button. All hands prepare for emergency launch. With a deep rumble that shook the entire vessel, Phoenix's engines ignited. The ship rose from its construction cradle, breaking free of the lunar base that had been its birthplace. Zarathi vessels are locking weapons, Steve shouted. Full power to engines, John ordered. Phoenix shot forward, hugging the lunar surface. Behind them, energy beams from the Zarathi ships hit the abandoned base, vaporizing it instantly. They've destroyed the base, Ryan reported, his voice tight with emotion. No sign of survivors from the shelters. John gripped the arms of his command chair. More deaths to add to his conscience. Stay on course, Lieutenant Rodriguez. Don't let their sacrifice be for nothing. Phoenix raced around the dark side of the moon, using its mass as a shield from the pursuing Zarathi ships. Sir, I'm detecting a transmission from Earth, Ryan said suddenly. It's on an old military frequency. Put it through, John ordered. Woman's voice, filled with static, came through the speakers. To any human forces in orbit, this is Captain Olivia Green of the Earth Resistance. The Zarathi have taken control of major government facilities. The President and Joint Chiefs are being held at the United Nations building. Resistance cells are forming worldwide. If anyone can hear this, we need help. Can you respond without giving away our position? John asked Ryan. Not without the Zarathi detecting it, Ryan replied. Lisa looked up from her station. We can't help them yet. Not in this state. We need somewhere to finish the ship. The asteroid belt, Amy suggested. There are old mining stations there. We could hide among the rocks, use the materials to complete construction. John nodded. Set course for the belt. Maximum speed once we clear the moon's shadow. Phoenix burst from behind the moon and accelerated toward the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The Zarathi ships followed, but their larger vessels were slower to maneuver. They're firing, Steve warned. The ship shuddered as energy blasts grazed their hull. Divert power to rear shields, John ordered. Lisa worked furiously at her station. Shields at 30% and failing. We can't take another direct hit. I'm detecting a solar flare from the sun, Amy said suddenly. If we change course to pass through it, the radiation might mask our signature. Do it, John commanded. Everyone prepare for radiation exposure. Dr. Miller, can our shields handle it? Not well, but better than Zarathi weapons fire, Lisa replied. Phoenix changed course, heading directly toward a massive solar eruption. The radiation alarms blared throughout the ship. Zarathi vessels are falling back, Steve reported with satisfaction. Their shields must be more sensitive to solar radiation than ours. The ship plunged into the edge of the solar flare. Warning lights flashed across every control panel as radiation levels spiked inside the vessel. Hull temperature rising, Lisa warned. We can't stay in this for more than 30 seconds. John watched the countdown on his display, sweat beading on his forehead. Lieutenant Rodriguez, prepare to change course on my mark. At the 10-second mark, John gave the order. Now. Phoenix burst from the solar flare, its hull glowing red with heat, and accelerated away from the sun at maximum speed. Behind them, the Zarathi ships had fallen back to a safe distance. "We've lost them," Amy confirmed after several tense minutes. "They're returning to Earth orbit." A cheer went up around the bridge. John allowed it for a moment before raising his hand for quiet. "This is only the beginning," he reminded them. "We're not running away, we're regrouping. Phoenix isn't just a ship, it's the start of humanity's counterattack." He stood and looked at each of his crew members. "The Zarathi think humans are weak. They think we'll surrender without a fight. They've never faced a species like ours before, one that thrives on adversity." Lisa spoke up from her station. "I've been analyzing the data from our encounter. The Zarathi have weaknesses we can exploit. Their shield technology is vulnerable to certain radiation frequencies. With more work, we might be able to develop weapons specifically designed to penetrate their defenses." John nodded. "That's our mission now. We'll reach the asteroid belt in 4 days. By then, I want plans for converting Phoenix from an escape vessel to a warship." As the ship continued its journey toward the asteroid belt, John moved to the viewport and stared back at the distant blue dot that was Earth. He pressed his hand against the glass. "We'll be back," he promised quietly. "And when we return, the Zarathi will learn what happens when you underestimate humanity." The abandoned mining station was a lifeless collection of metal structures embedded in a large asteroid. As Phoenix approached, Amy guided the ship into the cavernous main dock that had once housed mining vessels. Their ship barely fit, its hull scraping against the entrance. "Power down to emergency systems only," John ordered once they were safely inside. "No signals that could give away our position." For 3 days, the crew worked tirelessly to assess their situation. The mining station, despite being abandoned for almost a decade, offered valuable resources. Its fabrication facilities were intact, and storage areas contained raw materials left behind when the operation was shut down due to budget cuts. Lisa gathered the senior crew in what had once been the station's mess hall. Maps and diagrams were spread across the tables. "We've completed our inventory," she said, pointing to lists projected on the wall. "We have enough materials to finish about 60% of Phoenix's original design. The station's fabricators can produce most of the components we need, but we're missing key elements for the advanced weapons systems." Steve scratched his chin thoughtfully. "We could modify some of the mining equipment. The laser drills use the same basic principles as our weapon designs." Engineer Paul Martinez, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "I've been studying the Zarathi technology data. Their ships use a different approach to energy management. If we rethink our power distribution system, we could increase efficiency by almost 40%. John looked at the young engineer with interest. "What are you suggesting?" Paul pulled up his own diagrams on the screen. "The Zarathi use what they call dimensional folding to store and channel energy. It's complex, but I think I understand the basic principles. If we adapt our systems, we could generate more power with less fuel. That would give us longer range and more energy for weapons," Steve said, excitement growing in his voice. "Can you build it?" John asked. Paul nodded hesitantly. "I think so, with Dr. Miller's help." "Make it happen," John ordered. "In the meantime, we need information about what's happening on Earth." Ryan Cooper had been working on that problem. "I've modified our long-range communications array. We can listen to Earth broadcasts without being detected, but transmitting is still too risky." The news from Earth was grim. The Zarathi had established control centers in every major city. Humans who resisted were taken to re-education facilities. Resources were being harvested at an alarming rate, with forests cleared and oceans polluted by Zarathi mining techniques. But there was hope too. The resistance movement was growing. A man named Jack Wilson, a former Navy SEAL, had emerged as a leader in North America. His forces had successfully sabotaged several Zarathi processing plants. For the next 3 months, Phoenix underwent a transformation. The crew worked in shifts, rebuilding and expanding the ship's capabilities. Paul's new power system proved more effective than anyone had hoped, allowing for significant improvements to the original design. Lisa made a breakthrough in her research on Zarathi biology. Their cellular structure is vulnerable to certain radiation frequencies, she explained during a briefing. If we modify our weapons to emit these frequencies, we could penetrate their personal shields. The crew's ranks grew unexpectedly when they detected a distress signal from a Zarathi prison transport passing near the asteroid belt. Amy led a daring rescue mission with their newly completed shuttlecraft, freeing 30 human prisoners being taken to a Zarathi labor colony on Mars. Among the rescued prisoners was Dr. Kate Peterson, a quantum physicist who had been working on experimental propulsion systems before the invasion. Her knowledge proved invaluable to Paul's team as they refined Phoenix's engines. 6 months after arriving at the asteroid base, the ship was almost unrecognizable. Its hull had been expanded using materials from the mining station, nearly doubling its original size. The weapon systems, though fewer in number than originally planned, were more powerful thanks to the integration of Zarathi technology with human ingenuity. John stood in the newly completed bridge, surveying the work. It's time for a test run, he decided. Lieutenant Rodriguez, prepare for departure. Phoenix emerged from the mining station, its new engines humming with power. The ship moved with surprising grace for its size, responding smoothly to Amy's commands. All systems functioning within parameters, Paul reported from engineering. The dimensional fold drive is stable. Take us through the test course, John ordered. Amy guided Phoenix through the asteroid belt, weaving between floating rocks with increasing confidence. The ship's sensors, enhanced with modified Zarathi technology, provided detailed information about their surroundings. Weapons test, John called out. Steve activated the main forward array. A beam of concentrated energy shot out, striking a small asteroid. Instead of simply vaporizing the rock, the beam seemed to make it collapse in on itself before exploding. The dimensional fold effect works on solid matter, Lisa observed with satisfaction. The Zarathi won't be expecting that. As they completed the test run, Ryan called out from his communication station. Commander, I'm picking up a coded transmission from Earth. It's on the frequency we provided to the Resistance. Put it through, John ordered. A woman's voice came through, occasionally breaking with static. This is Olivia Green to Phoenix. If you're receiving this, we have critical information. The Zarathi are constructing atmospheric processors to alter Earth's atmosphere to their preferred composition. Once activated, they will make Earth uninhabitable for humans within months. We've identified the main control facility in what used to be Chicago. Jack Wilson is planning an assault, but we need help from orbit to take down their shields. John looked around at his crew. They had planned to spend more time preparing, gathering resources, possibly building additional ships, but Earth was running out of time. Send a response, he told Ryan. Tell them Phoenix is coming home. The crew prepared for battle. The ship's hold was filled with weapons modified to work against Zarathi technology, ready to be dropped to resistance fighters. The medical bay was stocked for casualties. Everyone knew the odds were against them. One ship, even one as advanced as Phoenix had become, against the entire Zarathi occupation force. Before we depart, John addressed the assembled crew in the main cargo bay. I want to rename our ship. Phoenix served us well as a symbol of rising from the ashes, but we're no longer just surviving. We're fighting back. He gestured to the freshly painted words on the hull behind him. Humanity's hope. The Zarathi think they know humans, John continued. They think they've studied us and understand our capabilities. They see us as primitive, easily conquered. What they don't understand is that humanity has always been at its best when facing impossible odds. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. The crew cheered as John finished his speech. Set course for Earth. It's time the Zarathi learned what happens when you push humanity too far. Humanity's hope departed the asteroid belt, its new engines glowing with blue-white energy. On the bridge, John watched as Earth grew larger on the viewscreen. Zarathi ships detected in orbit, Steve reported. They haven't noticed us yet. Good, John replied. Let's keep it that way until we're ready to announce our return. The ship accelerated toward Earth, carrying with it humanity's best chance for survival. The Zexorians showed their true colors at last. Their huge warships appeared above the biggest cities on Earth. The sight of these massive vessels blocking the sun sent fear through the hearts of people everywhere. The alien ships were like nothing humans had built before. Dark metal structures that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. From these ships came a message to all world leaders. Surrender now, or be destroyed. The voice of Ambassador Krex, once friendly and warm, now sounded cold and threatening. Many world governments, already weakened by the strange air that the Zexorians had released, began to give up. The presidents and prime ministers of major nations appeared on television with pale faces and shaking hands. One by one, they told their people to cooperate with the aliens. It's the only way we can survive, they said. Jack Nelson watched these speeches from the main room of the Nest, the secret underground base where Earth's last hope was being built. His face was grim as he turned to his team. They've moved faster than we expected, he said to Olivia Wright, who stood next to a wall of screens showing data about Earth's changing atmosphere. The air quality is dropping in all major cities, Olivia said, pushing her glasses up her nose. Their ships are speeding up the process. At this rate, humans will start dying within weeks. Daniel Green rushed into the room out of breath. His usual calm face now showed pure fear. Jack, they found us. Zexorian scout ships are circling the mountain. They're scanning for the base. Jack looked at the team gathered around him, scientists, soldiers and engineers who had worked day and night for months. He had hoped for more time, but there was none left. How ready is Thunderbird? He asked Shannon Peters, who had just entered from the main hangar. Shannon wiped grease from her hands onto her already dirty work pants. The main systems are online. Weapons are at 85%. Shields are ready. The power core is stable. She took a deep breath. It can fly, Jack. It's not perfect, but it can fly. Jack nodded and pressed a button on the main console. His voice echoed throughout the entire base. All personnel, this is Commander Nelson. Operation Thunderbird is launching now. I repeat, we are launching now. All crew to battle stations. The base burst into activity. People ran through hallways, sealed doors, and took their positions. On screens throughout the Nest, a countdown appeared. Olivia's team rushed to activate the network of hidden satellites. These would spread the cure for the Zexorian air pollution once Thunderbird was airborne. The mountain sensors show they're starting to drill, Daniel reported. They'll break through within an hour. They won't get the chance, Jack said. He turned to Shannon. Start the launch sequence. Shannon nodded and began typing commands into her console. Deep below them, massive engines came to life. The whole mountain began to shake. In cities around the world, people pointed to their televisions and phones as new broadcasts cut through the Zexorian control of Earth's networks. Daniel's team had worked for months on this moment. His face appeared on screens everywhere. People of Earth, he said, don't give up hope. What you're about to see is real. Stand together. The real fight begins now. The video switched to live feeds showing the mountain where the Nest was hidden. At first, nothing seemed unusual except for the Zexorian ships circling it. Then the ground began to move. Cracks appeared in the mountainside. Birds flew away in panic. The Zexorian ships backed away, clearly surprised. With a sound like thunder that could be heard for miles, the mountain split open. Rock and dirt fell away, revealing something massive and metal underneath. Slowly, a huge ship rose from within Earth itself. The Thunderbird was the largest vessel humans had ever built. Unlike the alien ships with their light-absorbing surfaces, Thunderbird gleamed in the sunlight. Its hull was covered with a special metal that contained minerals from Earth that the Zexorians had never seen before. These minerals could stop Zexorian weapons and gave the ship its slight blue glow. Inside the control room of Thunderbird, Jack sat in the commander's chair. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. Olivia monitored the ship's environment systems. Daniel managed communications. Shannon watched over the power core that she had designed. All systems online, Shannon reported. The power core is stable and producing more energy than we expected. Atmospheric countermeasures ready to deploy, Olivia added. The whole world is watching us, Daniel said. And the Zexorians are trying to jam our signals, but they can't break through our encryption. Jack nodded. Take us up. The Thunderbird rose higher, leaving the broken mountain behind. As it climbed through the clouds, Zexorian fighters approached. They fired green energy beams at Thunderbird, but the ship's special hull absorbed the blasts without damage. They're surprised their weapons don't work, Olivia said with a small smile. Let's show them ours do, Jack ordered. Shannon pressed a series of buttons. Panels opened along Thunderbird's sides, and missiles shot out toward the Zexorian fighters. These were not normal missiles. They contained technology designed specifically to disable Zexorian systems without destroying their ships. The fighters' lights went out and they began to fall back to Earth. Deploy recovery drones, Jack ordered. Catch those ships before they crash. We don't want human casualties. Small drones flew from Thunderbird and caught the falling Zexorian, fighters lowering them safely to the ground. As Thunderbird reached space, it faced the main Zexorian fleet. Their biggest ship opened communications. On the main screen of Thunderbird's bridge appeared the face of the Zexorian admiral. His skin was pale gray and his four eyes blinked in different patterns. Humans, he said, his voice deep and angry. Surrender your vessel and we may spare your planet. Jack stood up from his chair and faced the screen. You should have heeded our warnings. Earth is not yours to take. He nodded to Daniel, who pressed a button. Thunderbird's special weapons activated. Beams of blue light shot out from the human ship, hitting each Zexorian vessel. The alien ship's systems began to fail. Their weapons went offline, their engines stopped. This is impossible, the Admiral shouted. You are a primitive species. We let you think that, Jack replied. While you thought we were giving up, we were studying you, learning your weaknesses. Building this ship with the one thing you never expected, Earth minerals that neutralize your technology. The Admiral's face showed real fear for the first time. Leave our solar system, Jack said, and tell your leaders, Earth is protected. The Admiral cut the communication. The remaining Zexorian ships, those that could still move, began to retreat. Thunderbird followed them to the edge of the solar system to make sure they left. On Earth, people came out of their homes and cheered as they watched the battle on their screens. The networks showed Zexorian bases being taken back by combined human forces. The hidden satellites activated, releasing Olivia's cure for the air pollution. Humanity had won, and the Zexorians had learned not to mock Earth's warnings again. The battle was not over yet. While Jack Nelson and the Thunderbird had chased the main Zexorian fleet from Earth's orbit, smaller alien ships still fought across the planet. From the command bridge, Jack watched the global situation map with careful eyes. Status report, he said to his team. Olivia Wright looked up from her screen. The air cleanup is working. Our satellites are spreading the cure throughout the atmosphere. Oxygen levels are returning to normal in most major cities. The people are fighting back, Daniel Green added. His fingers moved quickly over his keyboard as he managed communications between Thunderbird and ground forces. With the Zexorians' main weapons disabled, humans are taking back control of every continent. Shannon Peters monitored the ship's power systems. Her face showed both pride and worry. The core is still stable, but we're using a lot of power. We should be careful with the main weapons for the next few hours. Jack nodded and looked at the large view screen showing Earth below them. It was a beautiful sight. Blue oceans, white clouds, and green land. This was what they were fighting for. A world worth saving. Sir, Daniel said suddenly, we're picking up a signal. It's coming from beyond Mars. The screen changed to show a new group of Zexorian ships. They were bigger than the ones they had fought before. At the center was a massive vessel that must have been their true mothership. They were holding back their main force, Jack said quietly. Get me ship-wide communications. Daniel pressed a button, and Jack's voice would now reach every person on Thunderbird. This is Commander Nelson. The Zexorians have brought reinforcements. They're coming in fast and they're angry. But remember why we built this ship. Remember what we're fighting for. Every person on this ship represents the best of humanity. Today we show the Zexorians what that means." He turned to Shannon. "How much power can you give to the shields?" Shannon pressed some buttons on her panel. "I can redirect emergency reserves. It won't last forever, but it will hold." "Do it," Jack ordered. "Olivia, are the special missiles ready?" Olivia nodded. "Yes, but we only have 7 of them. Each one can disable a medium-sized ship, but not their mothership. That would take all 7 at once," Jack thought quickly. "We need to save those. Daniel, open a channel to their commander." The screen flickered, and the face of a new Zexorian appeared. This one had darker skin than the others and 6 eyes instead of 4. The extra eyes showed his higher rank. "I am Supreme Commander Vrex of the Zexorian Empire," the alien said. "Your resistance is impressive but pointless. This fleet has destroyed civilizations far more advanced than yours. Surrender now, and we will allow some humans to live as our servants." Jack stood tall. "This is Commander Jack Nelson of Earth. We will not surrender. We will not serve. If you want our planet, you'll have to fight for every inch of it." Vrex made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Very well. You will make an interesting example for other worlds that might consider defying us." The communication ended and the Zexorian fleet moved forward. Their weapons fired, bright green beams shooting across space toward Thunderbird. "Brace for impact," Jack called. The ship shook as the beams hit their shields. The lights flickered but stayed on. "Shields holding at 82%, Shannon reported. "But each hit drops them by about 3%. "We can't just sit here and take fire," Jack said. "Prepare main engines. We're going to move fast and hit hard." The Thunderbird moved with surprising speed for its size. It flew directly toward the Zexorian fleet, then sharply changed direction at the last moment. As it passed the enemy ships, it fired its special weapons that disabled the alien technology. 2 Zexorian ships went dark, their systems failing. The others adjusted their attacks, trying to predict where Thunderbird would go next. "They're learning our moves," Olivia warned. Jack nodded. "Then we need to do something they won't expect." "Shannon, can the power core handle a full energy burst to all systems at once?" Shannon looked worried. "It's never been tested. The simulations say it could work, but it might overload some systems." "We have to try," Jack said. "Daniel, send a message to Earth. Tell them to be ready for the main Zexorian ship to crash. We're going to bring it down." Daniel sent the message while Shannon prepared the power core. Olivia readied all 7 special missiles. "On my mark," Jack said, watching the Zexorian mothership grow larger in the view screen. 3, 2, 1, now. Shannon pushed her controls to maximum. The Thunderbird's engines flared brighter than before. The ship shot forward at its highest speed, heading straight for the Zexorian mothership. "Fire all special missiles," Jack ordered. Olivia launched all 7 missiles at once. They streaked toward the Zexorian ship, each one targeting a different critical system that they had identified. The Zexorians fired everything they had at Thunderbird. The human ship's shields glowed bright blue as they absorbed the attacks. Warning lights flashed on Shannon's panel. "Shields failing," she called. "Down to 15%. But it was too late for the Zexorians to stop what was happening. The 7 missiles hit their targets at the same time. The Zexorian mothership's weapons went dark. Its engines failed. The massive ship began to drift. "Direct hit!" Olivia shouted. "Their systems are completely offline," Daniel confirmed. Jack opened communications again. The face of Supreme Commander Vrex appeared, now lit only by emergency lights. "Impossible," the Zexorian leader said. "This is your final warning," Jack said. "Leave our solar system and never return. Tell your empire that Earth is not to be invaded. We spared your lives today, but we won't be so merciful next time." Vrex was silent for a long moment. Then he gave what looked like a bow of his head. "We withdraw." The remaining Zexorian ships gathered around their disabled mothership. Using tractor beams, they slowly began to pull it away from Earth. Daniel looked up from his station. "Ground. Forces report that the last Zexorian bases have surrendered. Earth is free." A cheer went up across the bridge. Jack allowed himself a smile, but he knew this victory came with responsibility. 3 days later, Jack stood on a stage before the newly formed United Earth Council. Leaders from every nation had gathered to plan humanity's future. "The Zexorians have left our solar system," Jack reported, "but they won't be the last aliens we meet. Some may come in peace, others may not. The Thunderbird is just the beginning of what we need to protect ourselves." Council Chair Lisa Morgan, who had once dismissed Jack's warnings, now stood and faced the crowd. "Today we announce the formation of Earth's defense fleet," she said, "with ships built using what we've learned from this victory. Commander Nelson will lead this fleet, with the Thunderbird as its flagship." The crowd cheered. Jack looked at his team. Olivia, Daniel, and Shannon stood together, tired but proud. Later, on the observation deck of Thunderbird, the four friends looked down at Earth. "What do you think the Zexorians are telling their empire about us now?" Daniel asked. Jack smiled. "I think they're warning them about the humans, the species that looked weak but wasn't, the planet that roared back when attacked. They won't be the last to underestimate us," Olivia said. "Then they won't be the last to regret it," Shannon added. As the Thunderbird orbited Earth, its shadow passed over continents and oceans. It was a reminder to anyone watching from space. Humanity had found its place among the stars, and they would defend their home with everything they had.